Hello and welcome to another edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. How you doing today, Dad?
Well, I'm tired. It was a long week. Your stepmother had an operation on Wednesday at MCV, and we got home Thursday, so neither one of us got much sleep Tuesday or Wednesday night. Then we got home. I cleaned the house Monday and Tuesday, and then I did the yard Friday. So I'm tired.
Hot and sticky up there.
I cut the grass and all that early on Friday morning when it's not as hot yet, but it's real humid. So yeah, I broke a bead. And then I taught Sunday school this morning for the kids and stuff. So I'm a little tired. But
I bet. None of us are getting any younger.
Especially me.
Yeah, I'm back to the grind myself. Worked all weekend. So got a trip coming up. Looking forward to it. Anything spectacular this week?
Well, I would like to. The first thing I'd like to bring up is that another giant passed away. A giant, Orlando Cepeda.
Yep.
Orlando Cepeda played first base for the Giants. He broke in 58, and he played until 74. He was on 6 different teams, but the majority of that was with the Giants. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1999, and his stats, when the batting average mattered, he had a lifetime batting average of 297, 2,351 hits, 379 home runs, and 1,365 RBIs. He didn't have too shabby a career.
No, that's real good.
He made, out of the 12 years he was in baseball, he made 11 All-Star teams.
Wow.
He was on the World Series champions in 1967, the St. Louis Cardinals, when they beat the Tigers in the World. The Tigers and the Cardinals played in the 67 and 68 World Series. The Cardinals won in 67, and the Tigers won in 68 with Mickey Lolich beating Bob Gibson in the 7th game. Right, that was the year that Denny McLain had 30 victories for the Tigers. The other thing that's kind of cool about that 1967 championship for the Cardinals was that not only was Orlando Cepeda in nearing the end of his career, but or at least in the middle of it, but Roger Maris was on that team. So these two older guys, they had stability on that team, and they won the World Series that year. He was also the Rookie of the Year in 1958. He was the first Puerto Rican player in the major leagues.
Yeah, I knew he was the first and I didn't want to misspeak, so I knew you probably have it in your notes there.
Yeah, he was. He had this big looping. He's right-handed batter, and he had this big looping swing. But I'm gonna tell you what, when he made contact, it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that would be. So when he was playing, that would be like right in the dead part of your, watching or listening games, right, or paying attention.
Yeah, see, he came into the league in 58,
mm-hmm.
and he played until 74. So by that time, they were showing the game of the week every week. We had our TV about 4 years, 3 or 4 years. So I got to see him play a few times, and of course I saw him in the All-Star game. But what always amazed me was he was a big man, but he wasn't heavy. He was big and muscular with a lot of power, but he could run.
Right.
And he was a very good first baseman. He was he didn't win any Gold Gloves, but he was an excellent first baseman. I hate to bring up the umpires again. Yesterday, Kansas City.
Do you know the name? Because there's one that's just horrible. He's probably worse than Angel Hernandez, but go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to blame the umpires for this.
Okay.
Kansas City is playing at a home game. Visiting team comes up. Now, they would have lost the game anyway because they got pounded. But this dude hits a line shot right down the left field line. It looks like it glances off the foul pole, what I call the fair pole. Well, it glances off the yellow pole and goes into the crowd, foul. So umpire, home run. Everybody's going, okay. Well, then you look over to Kansas City dugout, and they're doing this number. And a few seconds later, so the umpire said, we're going to go look at it. So they showed it in slow motion. Now, I didn't see this game, but I saw it on the highlights this morning, and I saw it on the internet. The netting that they have up all the way down now so people don't get hurt, they put up a few years ago. When it runs down to the foul pole is here. The netting is here, and there's a rod or something that comes across that holds the netting up. The ball hit the rod in foul territory. So they said it took forever for them to look at this in New York. So they come back out there, and the head umpire, calling the field stands, a home run. Of course, the Kansas City manager went nuts. They're going, what? And the announcers went, what did they see we didn't see?
Right.
So you can't, in this case, you really can't blame the umpires. It's the morons in New York. What are they looking at?
But they might say there wasn't enough evidence to see it. I don't know. That's the only way. Because it's one of those calls, like if it was called foul, they probably would have called it foul.
Timeout. I see plays all the time where that comes up in any sport. Or it's too close to call. I'm buying that. But in slow motion, if I can sit in Colonial Heights, Virginia, and see a foul ball in Kansas City, they can do the same thing from New York.
Right. I got you.
So that has nothing. It wasn't too close to call. Everybody knew it was foul.
Right. I was just being devil's advocate. I was just
well, you can be the advocate all you want because I'm just going, how can they get this wrong? How in the world do they get this wrong? What are the guys in New York looking at? Now, Kansas City lost by about 5 runs, so it didn't matter. But, I mean, it was still, here again, the umpiring and the officiating period. I mean, they have to look at this. I don't I mean, it was just something else. Michael Harris's hamstring is improving. He'll be back pretty soon for Atlanta. Now, here's something we talked about last week when we talked about Willie Mays, and we talked about how Larry Doby was the first black player in the American League. Willie Mays was actually the 3rd or 4th black player in baseball in the major leagues because, if Jackie Robinson was the first in 47. 1939. Ted Williams gets Rookie of the Year, 18 years old or something like that. He's off season. He takes a train to Southern California where he grew up. He gets off the train. His family is there, about 50 members. His American father and his Mexican-American mother. He took off in the opposite direction. Because if the Red Sox or Major League Baseball would have found out that he had a Mexican-American mother, that would have broken the color line and he would have been disqualified. Especially the owner in Boston, because he was a blatant racist. So he ran the other way, and he kept that quiet for years. But many people always said, well, how come he was one of the first people to come out and want to integrate baseball? Because he knew what the black players were going through. Right. He knew it. He was living it.
Right.
His Hall of Fame induction ceremony, when he spoke, he talked about how all the records for the black players like Josh Gibson and that should be recognized. He brought that up in the speech. And everybody went, oh, my word. But that's why. So that goes back a ways. I mean, I thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah.
Now, the Washington Nationals. James Wood is supposed to. Now we tape this on Sunday. He's supposed to be making his debut tomorrow for the Nationals. in 51 AAA games, it's 346, 458, and 578. This he has 10 home runs, 34 RBIs, and 100 and 10 stolen bases. His only problem is he strikes out a lot, and they've worked on it in the minor leagues, and he's supposedly gotten better at that. Let's see, what else have I got today? Two times this week, when they have the in-game interview with the players, where they wear the two-way mic on the field. Well, first of all, if a player wears like Tatis did a few weeks ago for San Diego in right field, he gets $10,000 from Major League Baseball. If it's a postseason, he gets $15,000. But two players made errors talking when they should be playing this week, so they brought that up. Let's see. The Mets pitcher Drew Smith is going to have his second Tommy John surgery. Now,
the Mets bullpen sucks. They're terrible.
Well, only one game out of the wild card.
That's just because they're outscoring people. But yeah,
Jose Iglesias for the Mets has a hit single. He's going to make an album. He's a good singer. They showed him on YouTube
after the game the other day.
Yeah, they showed him after the game. I mean, he was getting it. I mean, he's good.
His new single. Yeah.
He's that young man's got some talent,
and he's actually playing really, really well this year.
Yeah, he had 3 or 4 RBIs the other game.
They can't get him out of the lineup because he's just balling.
Philadelphia is at 5. The last 10 games, they're 5-5. So the world's coming to an end.
Yeah, but Harper and Schwarber's out. Right?
Harper and Schwarber on a 10-day disabled list. Harper with a hammy and Schwarber with a groin. Now, my only concern for them, really for Schwarber more than for Harper, is that he's older.
But he's lost some weight going into this season.
But hopefully they can come back. But I felt sorry for Nola yesterday. He pitched a gem and then lost the game. The bullpen came in and they got smoked.
I don't feel for him.
Juan Soto didn't play yesterday, and he may not play today.
He's playing today.
Oh, he is. He bruised his hand sliding into home.
Yeah. So Judge hit his 30th home run a little while, just right before we started taping.
Well, Aaron Judge is one of my favorite players. This guy,
my friend said you're a Yankee fan. Stop hiding it.
Well, I'm an Aaron Judge fan. I'll always be an Aaron Judge fan. He's a fine young man, and he's one of the best power hitters I've seen in my whole life. I mean, this guy's phenomenal. He is phenomenal. The way he hits a baseball.
You put it over the plate, you might not see it.
Oh, you're not going to see it. And Ohtani, he's hit about 350 home runs in the last week. I mean, he's just hitting moonshots.
Did you see? Aroldis Chapman reared back to his younger days to strike him out with 103.
Yeah, he threw 103 and struck him out. He struck out a couple of people at 103.
Yeah, but I didn't see Chapman throw that in a decade.
Yeah, you may never see it again.
Yeah,
maybe hearing him about him getting an operation.
That might be it for him.
Yeah. Oh, this was pretty cool. I saw the ceremony on MLB when they unveiled a statue for Ryne Sandberg in Chicago.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
He's a special. Yeah, that's a special player in a special time of baseball for me growing up. Was, we had the WGN was one of the first super stations, so we got to see a lot of Cubs games, and that was at the end of his career and all, but still, I mean, he was a special.
He's still a good ball player.
Yeah, special dude, man. He's real good.
And he was always good with charities and stuff like that in Chicago. So he got his own statue. And then in Kansas City yesterday, they retired. No, I'm not. See, this is what age gets me with the names. No. Played football and baseball.
Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson. They retired Bo Jackson's number. This was so cool. He said when he was speaking to the crowd, to fans in Kansas City, he said, "I couldn't have been who I was without you being who you were. Let's play."
The City fans are great. Yeah.
He said, "Let's play ball."
Yeah.
He threw out the first pitch, son. You know who caught it? George Brett.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Two greats. Yeah.
George Brett behind the plate.
Talking about another guy in my childhood. Yeah.
And then they went out there and hugged each other. I mean, that was really cool.
And I mean,
Bill Jackson, if he hadn't messed that hip up,
yeah,
there's no telling how.
He's still the greatest athlete I've ever seen. I mean,
he was just outstanding.
And I didn't get to see, some of the guys that you got to see when you were, young man, but I think because I've seen some athletes now that play some dual sports, especially in college, Tony Gonzalez, Frank Thomas, but not, or Deion Sanders, just not the level that Bo had a reasonable shot of being at least NFL Hall of Famer, right? So, and being in the Hall of Very Good in baseball.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he did in the outfield, he could
running up the wall and catching the ball.
And he was just a natural athlete.
And he was so fast.
You can't teach that stuff. Great instincts.
There's a young man that I've kind of caught my eye in some of the highlights because I don't get to see many San Diego games.
Mm-hmm.
But he caught my eye in some of the highlights. And now he might be a favorite for Rookie of the Year, and that's Jackson Merrill.
Yeah. He was he was highly touted coming into the season.
Yeah, and he's hit 8 home runs. He's just tearing the cover off the ball. And he's fast too. That kid can run. One thing about the major leagues now, these younger players coming up, almost every one of them has speed. Almost every one of them.
Yeah.
You don't see 250-pound first baseman coming up anymore. You just don't.
It's changed. They have workout
Miracles do happen. I hear rain.
Oh, awesome.
We haven't had rain in months.
We have the workout regime. I saw a TikTok out of a hotel window of a travel team member, and the other travel team they were playing against was already up, and they had a traveling workout stations.
Yeah, you told me
they
about
had out in the parking lot. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And I say they just didn't want like their rubber bands. They had full weights and stuff. Just amazing what these kids get these days. And I mean, that's why I feel like I'm watching some of the best baseball that as a whole, because these players are just so good. I hope.
Oh yeah, they're just these young players just have so much talent. Here's another thing. I know you're going to appreciate this. A giant expose. I saw it on the internet Friday. Giant expose. Why are pitchers getting hurt? I just want to thank the two gentlemen that wrote the expose for watching our show for the last year. I just want to thank them because they wrote everything we said. They first mentioned everybody trying to throw the ball 110 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
We said that. Then they talked about him trying to put too much spin on the ball. Oh, we said that too. Then they brought up the fact that they took the sticky stuff away from the pitchers. You brought that up. I'm going, okay, Mr. Expose. I'm going, you're just saying the same thing we've been saying. It's the same thing.
They get paid for it, though.
You probably got nice little royalties for this. Same thing we've been saying for a year. They didn't even have my line. They only have long relievers now, no starters.
Right.
So, but I'm going, this is exactly what we said months ago.
Right.
We've been talking
It's
about
obvious.
this.
I mean, and you brought up too and my buddy Ed brought it up. There's no off season. Back in the day, guys would, after the season ended, plus it was 20 less games. After season ended, they'd go back to whatever regular life they had, and then they didn't do anything until the baseball season rolled back around.
Because they had
right. Or, they just lived a life. Now these guys, they're either playing summer ball, or they go straight to the workouts trying to add spin rate. Batters trying to get more hip flexing. There are all these different little things that give you an edge, supposedly, other than just see the ball, hit the ball, and throw the ball where the guy can't hit it. All this stuff. And they start a week or two right after the season. They take a break. They go to whatever fancy island they want to go to, and then they come right back to work. Yep. It's no off season.
And the Red Sox weren't playing the Cubs yesterday, but if they would have been, it would have been the Keystone Cops. The Cubs actually managed to beat Milwaukee, but the defense, throwing to the wrong base, letting the guy get past him in a rundown. And the Red Sox, I've said all year long, they have a horrible defense. The outfield was missing ground balls. It was just awful. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the highlights before I go to church. And
I'm telling you, none of them is worse than the Rockies outfield.
Well, the Rockies played the White Sox and made the White Sox look like the 27 Yankees. And so your stepmom's sitting there, and I'm watching the highlights before I go to church this morning. She couldn't go, of course, because she was hurting so bad. Her back's messed up. But anyway, I'm sitting there, and I said, these guys are playing like little leaguers. She said, that's kind of insulting to little leaguers. So, good point. It's so
yeah.
But I'm just here we go going back to fundamentals. I'll give you. Here's another thing about fundamentals. They showed in the highlights this morning. Runners on second and third, nobody out. I don't even remember who the team was. I don't care.
Right.
Nobody out. Second and third. The guy bunted. Run scores. They throw to first. They pull the first baseman off the bag. Now there's runners on first and third, nobody out. I'm watching the Orioles last night. Your stepmom's in the other room, and I don't want to bother her, so I'm not screaming at the TV. I'm screaming into a towel. I got a towel up there. Runners at first and second, nobody out. Bunt, bunt, bunt. He doesn't bunt.
Double play.
They're going to waste an out, right?
Right.
He hit into a double play. So essentially the inning's over. There's a guy standing on third, adjusting his jock strap, and that's all he could do because that was the end of the inning. The next guy popped up. So I'm going, come on, guys.
Right.
But see, some teams are doing that now. They're starting to bunt and move people over.
The Astros bunted last night against the Mets. And I was talking to you before we started. Mets were up 6-2 and lost. And I'm like, but Astros played every type of baseball they had to get back in the game, and then they took the lead. And the Mets didn't do what they were supposed to do.
And if the Astros are back to 500, so are the Mets. So, the winner of that game today will be a game above 500.
Right. Well, they need Grimace to come back out there and throw the opening pitch again.
There you go. Standings. In the American League, the Baltimore Orioles are one game up on the Yankees. The Yankees in their last 10 games are 2-8. All of a sudden, they can't pitch. For some reason, they're not pitching.
Wow. Well, at least it happened at the right time. The 2-game series against the Mets. The Mets pounded them for 2 games.
Yeah. And then they beat Toronto the first. They beat Toronto the first game, and then Toronto pounded them yesterday 9-2.
That Gill kid or Hill or however you say it's like Gil. Yeah. He's had such a great season. They say his last 2 outings, he just hasn't had it.
The Cleveland Indians. See, now here's what I hate about Cleveland.
Guardians.
I know. To me, they'll always be I'm sorry, folks. Now, the Cleveland Indians had this goofy logo of an Indian, looking like he had an IQ of
Right.
a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Get rid of the logo. That's fine. I understand that. But calling a team the Indians isn't an insult. I don't think that's insulting to Indians. I just don't.
Right.
So to take that, and then to call them the Guardians because that's what they got up on the bridge. Give me a break. But anyway, Cleveland is 7 games up on Minnesota. Seattle is 4.5 up on the Astros, who are making a run. In the National League, the Phillies are 5-5 in their last 10 games, but they're still 7 games up on Atlanta. If they played 500 ball the rest of the year, Atlanta would have to play like 950 to catch them.
Right.
That thing is over. Milwaukee 6.5 up on St. Louis, and the Dodgers are up 7.5 on the Padres. There's only 15 teams with losing records this week.
That's the number we're looking at. Wait.
2 are 500. So
right.
But that's and I also it's just wild card.
Yeah. That's
the American League. It's the Yankees, the Twins, and Kansas City, and Boston is only 1.5 games back. The manager in Boston is doing a good job with what he's got.
Right.
He's doing a real good job.
Right. That's a good division in baseball right now. Those top 3 teams.
In the National League, the 3 wildcard teams are Atlanta, San Diego, and St. Louis, and the Mets are a game back, and Arizona's a game and a half. Well, Arizona's making a run, and now they just fell apart again. They can't beat anybody. And you were talking when you brought up the Rockies. I was watching yesterday. They only had 1 game on it at 1 o'clock, and that was at 2 o'clock, and that was the White Sox and the Rockies. And those 2 teams they were bragging this morning because the White Sox were on a winning streak. They had won 2 in a row against the Rockies.
Was that the Fox game of the weekend or something?
No. They show games earlier, and then at 4:05 or something like that, Fox shows the game of the week.
Okay.
And then tonight, the ESPN game of the Orioles playing playing Texas. Orioles in Texas. And the Orioles, they lost 5 games in a row here.
I finally get to see the Orioles play, then if it's on ESPN.
Yeah, and they Gunnar Henderson is just he and Santander are just crushing the ball. But there's a lot of different guys like.
And I think this is Santander's walk season. I think
it is. Yeah, it is. And then they have, they had the Westford kid, and they got they called up an outfielder, Kierstad. They called him up. He hit a grand slam yesterday, and he's just, having a wonderful time. He's just hitting the ball all over the place.
He's just an older rookie,
right?
Or whatever you want to call it.
Because their center fielder's just he's hitting better now than he was a month or so ago, but he's still not doing very well.
Right.
So they're playing Kierstad more in the outfield. Okay, he's a good defensive outfielder. But the next thing, I guess, the All-Star game comes up. I think it's on the 16th of July. I think I saw where it's the 16th. I believe the 13th they play the
Futures.
The Futures game. I think that's on a Sunday afternoon. And then they have Home Run Derby Monday or Tuesday. And then is it that Wednesday they have their All-Star game? I don't know.
It's usually Futures, Home Run Derby, and then All-Star.
The July 16th is a Tuesday. So if they're playing the All-Star game on Tuesday, then they have Home Run Derby on Monday night, and they have the Futures game on that Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Right.
Now,
and then no games on Wednesday, and it'll start back up Thursday and Friday.
Right. Here's a big show on the MLB. Saturday, the red carpet for the All-Star game. where all the players come out there wearing their clown suits and their Mr. T startup kits around their neck. All these flashy looking idiotic tuxedos that they wear, and then they got a gold thing around here. It's got his last name on it because a guy can't find a shirt unless he has his name on it. So, I mean, that's a big show, boy. I know one thing. I might be watching golf or something, but I got to tape it. Now, I can't miss that. Just can't.
What is this for?
For the All-Star game.
The red. I know the Wednesday afterward is the ESPN ESPYs is always the day after.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the red carpet for the All-Star game.
Oh, okay. I don't watch any of the All-Star stuff anymore because all the stuff that I liked about the All-Star game no longer exists. So they don't.
Yeah, I haven't watched one. I haven't watched one.
So I don't care about the home run derby. I don't care about. I do like watching the futures game. I just want to see who's out there.
Well, I watch a little. I watched first few. They got one batter in there that I'm really interested in. I might watch it some, but it gets boring after a while. And
I can play it on my MLB The Show if I want to see it.
Well, the best home run derby was the old home run derby shows that they had way back in the late 50s and early 60s.
Yeah,
they were half-hour shows, and they had two guys. Like Mantle going against Snyder or something. I mean,
Yeah, they used to rerun those when I was a kid.
Yeah, they reran.
Because I used to sit there with Granddad, and he would sit there and talk to me about, I saw him, and I talked to him, and telling me all these stories.
Yeah.
So
black and white stuff.
Yeah, and they did it at spring training. They did it all at maybe at the Dodgers, like their backfield. It was like just some desolate, looked like a little league park.
Yeah, I think they did it,
but it was on some backfield of one of the.
They did it either at the backfield of the Dodgers complex, or they did it at a minor league stadium outside of LA because it was.
It was during spring training. I remember when they filmed them.
They filmed those, and I used to love those things.
Yeah, I thought that was just so watching those. People you only hear about, you watching them, film of them. It was pretty awesome.
But those were the home run derbies I liked. I didn't particularly like the All-Star game when it decided who had home field advantage in the World
I didn't either. That's when I started. I just don't care. I used to, and then I never really watched. I would love to watch them get called out with everybody wearing their uniforms, the home and away uniforms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just thought that was. Growing up, I just thought that was so cool.
It was special. For a baseball fan, it was
got
special.
chills right now thinking of it.
Especially a baseball fan like me when I was a kid, that a lot of these players, the only time I saw them was during the All-Star game.
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I'm sitting here looking, and it's all these heroes to me at the time. They're heroes. I'm sitting here going, I mimic all these guys in my backyard. I mean, this is awesome. And, I just love the game, and to sit there and even when I grew up, we only got one game a week for the longest time until we got WDCA. Then we got a few games a week, two or three. Yeah, and then we started getting the super stations. But I didn't start seeing baseball every night till I was an adult.
Well, I remember as a kid, I was in elementary school, and one day, right after lunch, the principal came to the door and said, "Michael, your dad's here." My dad lived in North Carolina. "Your dad's here." So I said, "Uh-oh." I thought something was wrong. So I went out there and he said, "Come on, son, we've got to go to a ball game. I'm getting you out of here." He took me to Richmond. The Richmond Virginians were the Yankees farm team, and the Yankees were taking their train at the end of spring training back up to New York, and they were stopping at all their farm teams playing, almost like barnstorming baseball, playing. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody swung at the first pitch because they wanted the game over so they could get back on the train and go home, be in New York. But, I mean, for me to sit in Parker Field as a little kid, as a child, and see Mickey Mantle up close, Yogi Berra up close.
Well, Atlanta would play Richmond for for every year. We've gone a couple of those. I thought
Yeah.
that was awesome. I was really too young to know what was going on, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, when we used to go to all the Richmond Braves games when you were a kid, and we saw Dale Murphy and
Mhm.
Lemke and well, I mean, we saw just about everybody that came through. The
I
farm.
saw Mark Wallers, Chipper Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it was you got to see it. Maybe they weren't in the majors yet, but they were headed
Right.
that way.
You knew they were going there. I mean,
Yes.
we got to see Glavine, Avery, the catcher. We got to see a lot of good
Lopez.
talent.
Was it
Yeah.
Lopez?
Yeah, we got to see a lot of good talent. I mean, even now, I mean, when we went to Double A, and then we romanticized these minor league, but we got to see pretty good ball players with the Giants Double A team there in Richmond now.
And we saw Harper play with Harrisburg.
Oh yeah, that place was packed for that doubleheader. Yeah,
But,
that was crazy.
And then of course we got to see him play in Washington. But
right.
But I mean,
we get to watch him anytime now.
Yeah. Well, I remember that night we were out there watching him, and he misplayed the ball in left field, and we said, "Well, he's still got to learn to play the outfield because he was a catcher."
Yeah, and then he threw it on a frozen rope to second base.
Yeah,
we were like, "Oh God, he's got an arm."
that part of it worked.
Yeah, we were like, almost threw the guy out in second. It was like, good grief. But
that's what I'm kind of hoping. I hope he's not out too long because.
Yeah, me too. I don't care if I don't like the Phillies. I still want to see the best play. I want to see all the players play. I don't want to see a team get hamstrung because they don't have their best players out there, and that always sucks.
That's what's happened to that for them to lose Strider, their ace,
that was,
and then to lose the MVP from last year, Acuna,
right?
Arguably their best player.
You probably had most likely the MVP and Cy Young winner go out.
And that's the only time in the history of the sport that's happened.
Right.
And the Orioles tied a record that I think 6 other teams hold. They hit 60 home runs for the month of June. 60 home runs in 1 month. Yeah, last night watching them in Texas play looked like home run derby. I mean,
were they playing at home when they were?
Yeah, they're playing at home. They're playing at home.
And they've moved fences, moved them up. I mean,
well, they moved the left field fence back because
right.
But
now
it's
higher, I should say.
And the right field fence is higher.
Right.
And but the left field fence they moved back, and now it's the longest home run in Major League Baseball to left field. I didn't realize that, but it is now. But that didn't stop anybody last night. It was hot and humid.
So it's longer there than it is in San Francisco.
They said it was the longest.
Oh, I'm thinking right field in San Francisco. Okay.
Yeah, right. No, it's left field. That's the farthest from the plate. Now, from left field to foul pole till it gets to left center, when they have in left center, it's got a kind of a little angle that comes up.
Right.
So that's where the DH for Texas hit his home run last night, and somebody hit an opposite field home run. Oh, it was Lowe hit a opposite field home run out there, that same little area. But I mean, it was home run derby because it was hot and humid. It was hot and humid.
Right.
It flies.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. That's the way Washington is. Once it gets hot and humid, the balls just starts jumping out of there. That's a tale of two fields there. It's cool. Ball doesn't go anywhere. When it gets warm, ball flies like a golf ball coming off the bat.
It's like hitting a golf ball in a tile bathroom.
Yeah, it just takes
off.
But
I think the All-Star game's coming up, then the trade deadline. So,
yeah, some exciting stuff on and off the field. It's just going to be crazy because I've heard trade rumors, but a lot of these teams making moves. It seems like a lot of teams are within striking distance of a playoff spot. So what do you do? I know there's moves to be had, but I don't know. I'm sure Oakland's going to give up half their team, but who else is going to? What else is out there? So wait and see. And I heard Oakland had a couple of players that they weren't offering up. So the pitcher's being one of them. So
they don't want to give up that reliever.
Yeah, so it's going to be
Maybe I'll
interesting.
take him to Vegas.
So, well, let's leave it there today, Dad. And I think that's a good spot. And I just want to say thank you all for everybody that watches. Thanks for the kind words once again. Again, if you have anything to add, please do down below. Please hit the thumbs up. And like I said, comments are welcome. And until next time, see ya.